It is here. The Zenith is finally, well, I would love to say available, but really it's not available yet. You have to play for 500 days. Now, this isn't consecutive days. If you miss a day, it won't matter. It will continue counting the next time you log in and continue to play. But you have to log in for 500 days to get a hold of this thing. Technically, it was available yesterday. And from all the stats, I've been looking at this thing for the past day. It's got a physical damage of 20. So I'm really hoping this thing is absolutely amazing. So let's claim this and go have a look. It does in fact only do 20 damage. It's got 10% crit chance and 10% status, and magazine's fairly big with a fairly quick reload to it. Its primary fire mode doesn't seem that good. Its secondary, however, 22% crit chance, 2.5 times multiplier, and 6 times the damage, so at least that was right. And it does look pretty nice, but remembering the secondary will involve throwing the disc out. Of course, we have the Azemar, which was the 100-day login reward, which technically the disc is its secondary fire, so it does have the stats for that, which are pretty much the same as its primary. No secondary attack for things like the Zenith store though. Having the secondary stats here allow us to be able to see the fact that its secondary is 6 times better. It's just status goes down, the reload goes down as well, so it reloads quicker. Its magazine is exactly the same size. This could be a pretty decent weapon actually. And it comes with a dash and a V, so it's going to need probably 2 more forma, another V and another dash to add an elemental combo to this. Despite the fact it only has a 10% status chance, it's still pretty handy having that on there. It does of course have 2 fire modes. You have straight up automatic mode. That is actually a really useful mode. You'll also notice this thing is doing a lot of damage against 145. Just now realizing this. Wow. But the numbers coming off this are about 638, we can see there. If I just shoot this out behind me, because it doesn't seem to do damage to enemies. Just to test that, let's shoot it on an inside of an enemy. Just to settle this one before people mention it. No damage, but it swaps the weapon into burst fire mode. And I am... wow. Yeah. So that's a thing. Shooting out the secondary fire for this does a few different things. It swaps it into burst fire mode, which will use up 5 rounds that are very packed together to such a point that it is just straight up evil and took half the health off this guy. The problem is, and the rounds actually come back, there's no timer for that yet. There probably will be shortly. It's definitely an increase in damage. Instead of saying 6-3 somethings, it's 1,000, 1,400 and something, 1,443, 1,443, 1,700 and something. So it definitely increases the damage, but the fire rate goes down so low. This is actually a huge downside to the weapon. I kind of prefer it in its full-on auto mode. Because it's, well, I don't even think my Bratton can take out level 145 that quickly. And that was just kind of messing around. But this thing, it may not do damage to them, but it does have another perk to it. You can actually see enemies through the floor, like through the walls and things like that. This is going to be really useful. Even though it only seems to last about, I was reading somewhere it's about 10 seconds. There's 10 seconds, 11, 12, 13, 14. It actually lasts about 15 seconds, not 10. But having that thing out and allowing you to see enemies through walls is just ridiculously useful. Now, at first this was not looking that good of a weapon. I'm going to and really shouldn't, but quickly I just want to know stat-wise what the primary fire is like compared to the Bratton, and the Bratton does more damage. It has more stat. I think the only difference here has got to be... no, it crits exactly the same. And the secondary fire of this thing is... well, it can do more damage, but its fire rate is just so ridiculously slow that once you do fire this thing out... I don't even think I fired that out there. I did. You're going to spend long... oh, mouse failure. Mouse failure! You're going to spend longer actually shooting this thing and missing than you are just straight up opening fire with fully auto and doing more damage. Yes, it is useful, that whole being able to see through the walls and everything else is really useful. My mouse is now completely... it's not activating. Something has gone terribly wrong. Glitches aside, the enemy has ran off. I'll just shoot this thing on the floor. And, oh look, there's the enemy. That is going to be so useful. But it's this primary, secondary fire mode thing. Okay, that did a lot of damage there to end it that quickly. And to be honest, the secondary fire being a semi-automatic burst fire, single round, but it's actually 5 bullet type thing, heavy caliber's not really going to work that well in here, so I did end up putting the 2 Vs on it first, but did find losing the elemental side of it a bit of a pain, so I did end up putting them on there. But if I'm honest, I don't like this, and I think I'm going to go for another V. I have myself another Bratton Prime scenario going on. I would love to get the Riven mod for this that I have for my Bratton, because it would just be ridiculously useful to have the extra damage, I missed, and the extra magazine capacity for this. But I don't have it. Remembering that Rivens for this probably are around somewhere, but not exactly going to be widely available yet, because this weapon, being 500-day login, was only really added in the last patch before this was due. You also have to remember that if you throw this thing out, you can of course retrieve it by using the same method you used to throw it out. Alt-fire throws, alt-fire brings it back. It's just a shame that it doesn't shoot bullets like the other ones do. That would have been useful along with everything else, but for a 500 days played weapon, it's not as bad as I was expecting, but it's not as good as people would hope, considering 500 days of playing a game is a lot. Anyway, we'll leave this off here for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch yous next time.